Hello and welcome to the I Am podcast for the independent American mama. I am your host, Rianna Mysliwiec. I am so thrilled to have you join us today. As the season changes and the world bursts into spring, it's the perfect time to refresh and rejuvenate our homeschooling practices. This week, my homeschool co-op is on spring break already, which is good because I'm going through some heavy springtime allergies. You may hear that in my voice in today's episode. In today's episode, we're going to spend some time exploring some fun and engaging activities to enhance our homeschooling experience this spring. So get some water, find a sunny spot, and let's spring into this episode. Spring isn't just a time for cleaning out our homes. It's a fantastic opportunity to cleanse and revitalize our teaching routines. With the world waking up around us, there are endless opportunities to bring new life into our lessons. Today, we'll discuss the unique benefits that spring can offer to our homeschooling journey, from the natural learning opportunities that come with the changing seasons to the positive impacts of fresh air and sunshine on our children's learning. Let us dive into some questions that I have received after I had asked 4 questions on homeschooling on my Instagram story and in one of my mama Facebook groups. The first question I got was, what are some educational outdoor activities best for spring that can be included in our homeschooling routine that actually counts as homeschool? So these kind of questions are super important to me because I believe that spring offers a natural classroom that's meant for exploration and discovery. So I will share some of my favorite activities that you can easily adapt to your homeschooling schedule, which not only align with the spring season, but also cover other educational subjects to count towards homeschool. First off, the top activity you can incorporate into your spring homeschooling is a nature walk. Last week, our co-op went on a nature walk, and we have kids aging from, well, 4 months, but walking kids 2 to 16. We didn't do this, but because the park office was closed, but you should go to the park office and either ask for a park guide or at least some instruction on which trails are best for your group. Or you can do what we did, parent in the front of the pack and parent in the back. No guide was necessary. Also, to incorporate some sort of lesson, you can gather your little ducks around a table and go over the hiking safety rules and guidelines. Most of those follow park rules as well. You can go over the rules once, twice, and if you wanted to, you can even quiz the kids on what the rules are. Having your kids repeat what you say really helps in instilling the rules into their growing minds, and then explaining why that rule is so important. For example, I stood up and said, "Rule number 3, stay on the path." Then they all repeated the third rule, and then I asked, "Well, what does that mean?" I got all the answers, all the responses. They all would voice why they would think that rule applies. Some people said, "So you don't fall, so you don't get lost, so your parent knows where you are at all times." We actually had a child fall onto a thorny bush during this nature walk, and after the day was over, my boys were doing some reflections of the day and remembered the rules and guidelines. Oh, if he was not on the path and he got hurt, we wouldn't have known that he was hurt, and he could still be out there, hurt and lost. And it was a simple thing, but it took up a good chunk of time and gave the children some valuable lessons to remember. One of the parents in our group then suggested that we got everybody together after the hike and have some ice cream. And that was a fun little treat for all the kiddos, and something we definitely think that they're going to remember. Now, this isn't something that we did this time, but I have done it in the past with my boys. You can also take some time on your nature walk to sit and draw what you see. tell all the kids to take a moment, write down what they feel, describe what they see, or even draw something that they see, a still life drawing or a landscape drawing. This provides the space for each child to share their unique experience with others and remember what it is that they experienced on this awesome day. Okay, the next thing you can do is a scavenger hunt. You can very quickly and easily create nature scavenger hunts where the children need to find certain types of plants, animal signs, rocks, or other natural things outdoors. This can be a fun way to learn about the local ecosystems. Sorry. I like to divide the kids up into teams. I've done this in our own home. I would have one of my older kids paired up with one of my younger kids. And this would help with my younger ones to learn about nature from their experience being with their older sibling. It was also a great way for my older kids to get into the mindset of connecting more with their younger siblings. We do this type of pairing up in the buddy system all the time when we go to the store, when we go to the park, we go on long drives, we do nature walks, that kind of stuff. We always apply the buddy system. And my boys have grown deeper bonds with their siblings, and they have learned to be more patient with each other. One of my favorite outdoor spring activity and lesson that I like to make sure gets done every year is gardening. This does take some planning, but it's a great way to let your children lead. And you start small, like start a small garden, a container garden with your children. This can be a project for science, like learning about plant cycles and nutrition. It could help with math, with measuring the garden beds and counting seeds, calculating the growth rates. Plus, gardening can teach responsibility and the importance of caring for the environment. So definitely start a garden this spring. When we started our first garden with our boys, I was so amazed at how fast they were starting to understand bigger life lessons. We spent most of our schooling outside in the garden because big life lessons that I was learning, I got my advice from my higher power when I sat in my garden. So I knew the questions my children had could be best answered when we were outside in the garden as well. Some of the little things I've noticed in my children since we started a garden are patience, understanding of failures, forgiveness, care, kindness, tenderness, respect. And one big thing, they started eating more fruits and vegetables that I could never get them to touch before. Definitely start a garden with your kids. If that is the one thing you want to get out of it is to help them eat healthier, they will grow into understanding where their food's coming from and why they should eat all this yummy natural foods. And it'll become a reward to harvest and eat the food that they grew. Definitely start there. All right. The second question that I got was, how can I find a good balance between indoor and outdoor learning? Okay, this topic is also such a great one. I like to share ideas on this. So, specifically, the reasons why I'm so lenient with my boys want to go outside. I am totally all for getting the book work in, sitting down, learning math, spelling tests, but I stick to those during the co-op times, which I feel is extremely beneficial. My boys' stamina for book work increased because they are seeing their friends also sitting down doing their work, though the other 4 days a week are mostly outdoors, learning from nature, growing their creativity. I suggest when it comes to finding a good balance between indoor and outdoor learning, start by identifying what parts of your school that you want to teach outdoors and what you can teach outdoors. And just to save you that quick Google search, yes, all core subjects can be taught outdoors. So really now all you have to do is to decide a schedule. For me, I I do more mostly outdoors than some indoors. I don't do the half and half. My balance is mostly outdoors and some indoors. Now, I want you to think of this real quick. Are you encouraging outdoor learning or are you just learning outdoors? Both are great, and I consider both to be the way to do it, but both are still different. To me, learning outdoors has an emphasis on learning. And you may be outside with a book, learning how to read. You may be out in a pond, learning how to swim. You might be outside with a large group of kids, learning how to have great teamwork skills. All great ways of learning. And then there's outdoor learning with the emphasis on outdoors. To me, this is really focusing on what the outdoors has to provide. Learning about what the sun and shade has to provide for the plants. Learning about the 100-year-old trees and how far their root systems are. Learning how to use natural materials to create something new and unique. Learning what happens when your bare feet touch the soil and what effects that has on your body, your mood, and how long it takes to do that. One of my favorite moments is when my child comes up to me and expresses his immense boredom, and I can turn around and towards the door and let him know that this is a perfect time for outdoor learning. Boredom means your mind is in the perfect place to get thinking and to grow your ability to be creative. And if the weather isn't great, just plan accordingly. Heavier jackets, new boots, less time outside in the winter months, but still be outside in the winter months. Springtime offers a fresh perspective that can breathe new life into every subject. Let's explore real quick how we can mesh the themes of spring into core subjects, whether it's math, science, language arts, social studies. The springtime season provides a backdrop full of inspiration and learning opportunities. For science, you can help your kids learn about plant growth, animal behaviors, life cycles. That's a good one. You can start a garden with your kids to learn plant growth and life cycles and explore how different bugs are attracted to and repelled away from certain plants. You can also study weather changes and the patterns, temperature changes. You can learn how water moves, the water cycle, and how clouds form. There's lots you can do for science out in nature. For math, you can measure the height of a tree and the length of the shadow and come up with a distance from the top of the tree to the end of the shadow. Geometry is great. I remember in school having those little pictures and diagrams on paper. The scenarios were always about what's outdoors. So math is a fantastic place to start when teaching outdoors. You can measure a garden bed, determine how many plants you can grow per square foot. You can learn about shapes and how strong certain shapes are in nature. For reading and writing, start with journaling. That's where I would start, is have your kids express their thoughts in journaling, and then you can read the journals and poems from other writers that have written about spring season. Something I am working on with my boys right now is creative writing. I'm giving them prompts outside in nature and letting them create stories about the season. And then they're going to come in and share their stories with me. And I'll also be doing this with them. So when I do projects for my kids, I'm also doing the project too, I feel like us parents need that most of the time. I feel like we need to center ourselves more and get back into it. So definitely do these projects also with your kids. You can also incorporate their spelling word list to include spring-themed words such as, I don't know, tree, leaf, flower, bloom, air, sun, grow, rain. You can list different flowers and animals and weather behaviors. There's so much you can do for reading and writing as well. For the subject of geography and history, You can study how different countries and cultures celebrate the spring season, the holiday, Easter holiday, different traditions, and that can lead to discussions on geography, climate changes, and just diversity in different cultures. You can discuss the history of those holidays and traditions, and you can plan a community service project, a cleanup project, community garden. Actively engage with this subject as well. This can lead to further discussions, and that lead into the art subject where you can explore music, compositions, paintings that are all inspired by the spring season and nature and growth. So there's a lot there for that one too. For the physical health and wellness subject, oh my goodness, take advantage of the warm spring weather to hold physical activity classes outside. Nature hikes, sports, team sports, yoga, fitness challenges. This is a great time to set goals for changing your habits, staying active, making healthier lifestyle choices. This is a great time to focus on nutrition and what fruits and vegetables are growing in this season. I try really hard to integrate what season we're in into the course subjects because it brings what they're learning to life and it makes it so much easier for these kids to understand and connect with. Okay, the last question. My kids are getting restless with the warm weather. How can I keep them focused on their studies? Oh, this is a good one. Spring fever. Okay, so my first suggestion, stick to your schedule. I'll say it again. Stick to your schedule. It seems that I almost begin to slow down when they start to speed up. Almost like I hear myself saying, I just need a break. It's hard to keep up with them. They just need a park day, those kinds of things. If you stick to a schedule, then it's predictable. My boys love knowing what's to come. The consistency is what keeps me from going absolutely insane. But the joys of homeschooling is flexibility, right? So I also suggest taking learning outside. A change in scenery can help give you that peace and resets their focus. You can incorporate what I talked about earlier, integrating core subjects to the outdoors. Maybe this spring fever is calling for new goals. Set new, clear, and smart goals with your kids so they have something to look forward to for the next 12 weeks until summer. Setting these goals gives you an anchor to refer back to help your kiddos stay on track. I also suggest breaking up lessons into smaller segments. If it seems like 45-minute lessons are too long, make it 25 minutes. If that's still too long, make it 15. Get the lesson in, but sometimes the kids can only go for so long before they need to get their bodies moving, and that is okay. And during those breaks that you take between your lessons, consider having your kids run a lap. Do some jumping jacks, stretch, do a quick yoga exercise. Their little bodies just want to move, and maybe that will help you as well. I do notice when I do these quick spritz of exercise, my kids are more concentrated during that book work time. Something that's on my mind right now too is to get distractions out of the way. If my boys can see the Nintendo in the corner of the room, they will have a harder time focusing on their work. They are just wanting the time to pass by so they can get on the game. Or if the wrong type of music is playing, they can get riled up and their focus flies out the window. Set the mood, set the tone, and you will absolutely see results. I've also noticed if my kids aren't seeming interested anymore in the work, maybe we strayed too far from what we were enjoying. For example, if my 6-year-old is interested in planets and astrology, but doesn't want to do math because it isn't tailored to astrology in any way, well, then I need to incorporate astrology into my math lesson to engage him. watch how fast that smile grows on their little faces. It's night and day. They love it when you can spend time in what they're interested in, even if your motive is to get that math lesson in. They love that you care what they like. If you don't know what it is that they like, then maybe that's your next step. Find out, explore what they like and what they want to learn more about, and use it to your advantage to get those core subjects in. All right, as we close today's episode, I hope you're feeling inspired to take your homeschooling adventures outdoors and make the most of this vibrant, renewing season. Spring is a time of growth and renewal, not just for nature, but for us and our children as well. I'd love to hear how you incorporate the spirit of spring into your educational activities. So please don't hesitate to reach out on our social media channels. Thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, may your days be filled with sunshine, learning, and laughter.